So I felt like the bipolar part, I felt like I had it, I mean, as early as middle school, like late elementary, early middle, but they can't test or diagnose for that at that age because you have to wait till like you're a little older because they just blame it on, especially women, blame it on hormones and puberty and social pressure, things like that. I mean, I'm 42, so this was, a good, 35 years ago. They're better about it now, especially with students diagnosing and catching those things. And I found out, like, I got officially diagnosed not till my mid-30s because I was very against medication growing up. Like, I was like, no, I don't need medication. They overprescribe medication. So I just used, like, my own tools until finally there was a bunch of deaths in my family in one, like, summer in my mid-30s. And I was like, I have no tools for this. So I went to, like, a community mental health center, and I got diagnosed, like, with a practitioner and everything, and that was just the bipolar diagnosis. Once that was under control, because they're so similar to ADHD, once the bipolar was under control, I was like, something else is still not right. And so, like, two and a half years ago, I actually did the actual testing for ADHD, and yay, I have that too. So
what was that testing?
It's a long question. It's the roof makes noises. Yeah, because, like, that's the roof up there. The bipolar, it's just like a survey, like, and like it's emotional, like, measurement table. But for ADHD, it's two states. I don't want to say like the Montana Utah test or Utah Nebraska test. It's two states names. That's a test. And you're supposed to, like, it's for kids, so you're supposed to remember, like, as far back as you can. But all of my things as an adult still matched up. And I mean, even before, like, the sample questions of it are done, like, it was like, yep. So finishing it was like a formality because it was like, yeah, you do have that.
How did this impact you as a student?
Growing up, nothing's wrong with you, you're fine. I struggled a lot, and I barely passed high school. If it wasn't a class that I was interested in, I didn't focus on it because I was like, whatever, I don't like that. So I struggled a lot, and nobody ever was like, maybe there's this, maybe, like, she needs to be measured. Maybe we should look into, like, even special ed at that time. Nothing. They're just like, oh, well, you're a bad student. Not bad, like you're a bad person, but like, well, you just don't know how to student. And I was like, okay, I guess I don't. But I was super involved in, like, band, choir, theater, so I think that covered up a lot of it because they were like, just very outgoing, very dramatic person in music, in marching band, all that stuff. So that's why. But it wasn't. It was because I was masking bipolar and ADHD.
Yeah.
So, and then I got to college and I didn't know how to be a student from high school, so I didn't translate to college. And they have, like, remedial classes and, like, how to study classes, but I didn't know how to do it anyway. So I didn't succeed in those classes. Yeah. And I actually ended up getting removed due to low grades because I couldn't keep my grades up because I didn't know how to learn, like, what they wanted. Like, I would read a book and be like, okay, what do you want from me? And they'd be like, what did you read? I'm like, the book. Like,
yeah.
But it was like, that's not what we want. I'm like, I don't understand because, like, I didn't get the abstract thoughts because I didn't know how to do it. So I struggled a lot, and of course, like, getting removed out of college when you're the area I grew up in, it's very much like you go to college, you go to a good college, then you get married, you have a baby. Like, these are the steps of your life. I'm from out in, like, the Chicago suburbs, and so it's very expected of you to follow that. So getting removed from school was super difficult and super hard. And of course, my parents just were like, oh, well, you just didn't know how to study. You just, like, again, like, no, like, oh, something could be wrong. This could be happening. Nope, just you're bad at school. I guess school's not right for you. Like, we're done with it. Right. So then I just started working, and I've been working since. What's the next one?
What was the most helpful thing your teacher did for you at school relating to your diagnosis?
None of them. And I think it was because of the time period. No teacher offered any help, any accommodation, any tutoring.
Not even one?
Nope. Oh. Because I was, like, an average student. I didn't act out, so I wasn't part of a behavior problem, student. Yeah. but I wasn't in AP classes, so they weren't like, oh, we see a drop in your work.
Yeah.
I just was like just under the radar. So I was not offered tutoring, offered help, offered like alternative assignments, testing, nothing. I was just another student.
That's unfortunate.
Right? I know. I think sometimes, like, if I had been caught earlier, what could I be doing?
Yeah.
Like, could I finish college? Could I have done better in high school and gotten to, like, a better school?
Yeah.
I mean, I went to a private college anyway, but could I have been on a different track, you know, like a better AP track or whatever? Like, all of these things that obviously it's too late to know now. Cause
Yeah. But you did go back to college to another one.
Nope.
No?
Mm-mm. I'm taking, like, I do certifications and stuff of things like I want to do, but
Yeah.
I haven't officially enrolled in a school.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm like, I'm bad at school.
Yeah.
Because that, you know, you're bad at school, okay.
Yeah.
So, but like if it's a class that interests me, I'll sign up and take a whole course, just not like as part of a school load.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah.
I can do a bunch of stuff, just not together.
Yeah, no, I get it. So, if you may, what was the most unpleasant experience you've seen as a result of a teacher? Like how they like failed to accommodate you. Did you have any experience like that was just like, oh my?
It was just them not helping. So me saying like I didn't understand a test, like oh I didn't understand what you wanted for this, and they were like, well you just didn't read it, like
Right.
not explain it, or if I had like a clarification question, like did you mean this for this question or this, and they would just be like you need to read it. But I did read it. I don't know what you want.
Yeah.
So, and again, it might have been the time because now teachers are very much like trauma informed and ACEs training and cognitive abilities of kids. Like, there's so much more training now that would have helped like so many of us back then.
Right.
So,
And what year did you graduate
I graduated 2001.
from high school?
Yeah.
2001. When I was born.
See, like, that's your mom.
So, if you could tell a teacher advice about how they could help student like you, what would you give them?
Especially now because everyone, so before it was no one could get a diagnosis, and now it's, oh, well, this is what's wrong with them. This is what's wrong with them. Self-diagnosing, like, oh, my kid's autistic. It's like, well, are they diagnosed though? Well, no. Okay. So it's getting to know your students and knowing when they are actually struggling. Not like, this is my bad group, this science group, they don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's, I have a couple students in here that just don't understand how science works.
So, really seeing the full potential in each student. Would you
Right,
say?
and I know in like big classes that's hard to do, but just getting a baseline of your students so that you can tell when one's like falling off or
Yeah.
or even excelling, because there's programs for excelled kids too.
Yeah.
I think it's just paying attention. But teachers have so much crap to do all the time, and they're getting more added to their plate. I know it's hard, and like I think that's why kids, like students, if I was a student now, like I'd probably fall through a crack because I'm not a behavior student. I'm not, you know, I do my work now that there's no homework. Like I would probably just slide through all my stuff.
Even
So,
now, you think so?
I think I'd still be undetected now.
Mm.
But I mean, I grew up for 35 years masking my behavior, so
Yeah.
I don't know how to not mask stuff like at work, like in a professional setting.
Yeah.
Like I'm very presentable and speak well, but back then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
like the stereotypical like ADHD kid. Like I was like hyper and talk really fast.
And no
I
one
had-
thought nothing?
No, they were just like, well, she's hyper. Like that's it. Like it wasn't because girls didn't have ADHD back then.
Oh, really?
Girls were daydreamers. Girls were had their head in the clouds or whatever. But it was
But males did?
because theirs is more physical. They manifest ADHD more physically, like with the hyper body activity and
Yeah.
running around, big energy, all that stuff, where girls tend to internalize more,
Yeah.
probably because the standards girls are under. So the daydream girls, the girls that aren't paying attention, the flighty girls,
Mm-hmm.
like some of them have ADHD and they just can't, they don't know how to pay attention to somebody.
Yeah.
So they're just like, okay. Like they're thinking, who knows? Like they're making up stories about something else. And you're like, listen. And they're like, what? What do we do? Like they don't know what class they're in. They're like, okay.
No, yeah. Man. Now I think about it, I've seen that. I have seen it. And I didn't even think to connect the two. Like, maybe, you know? No, I get it. How do you treat your diagnosis now as an adult?
I am very open about it because, like, I don't think it should be hidden. Like, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you need help, you need help. And obviously mine isn't an extreme where, like, I need assistance, like, whether through programming or, like, adults that have, like, special needs, like, companies and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I obviously am not that extreme. So I think it helps to see, like, look, I do have these things. And especially in this setting for students, like, I have that too. And they're like, no, you don't. I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So when you say, oh, I don't have meds, like, yeah, I know how that feels. I know. I get it. I get it. We're here. And they're like, nuh-uh. Like,
It helps you relate to the students better, especially the ones
especially
who
in
have
this
it.
setting, like
Yep.
a special needs setting, because
Yep.
I'm like, listen, I'm like, we're both going to be horrible today.
Yeah.
Like, I won't crash out if you don't crash out. Deal.
Yeah.
It's harder in, like, say a retail setting, because everyone is expects you, everyone is held to the same standard. Like, you're on time, you're doing this.
Yeah.
And I've always been in management roles because of the bipolar. I'm super productive. And I can be, like, the hyper-focus from ADHD, but, like, the mania from bipolar. So it's like, oh my gosh, she's a great manager. She works, like, 12-hour shifts. She gets all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I am. But then I go home and just don't talk to me. No one be near me. I don't want any lights on. Like, I just, too much is going on. So it looks really great if people don't know. But if I'm like, oh, yeah, it's just because I'm manic. And they're like, what? And then I think it's a joke because mental health in general is just taken as a joke. Oh my gosh, I'm so OCD. It's like, no, you're not, but okay.
Yeah.
So again, it's all masking, but it's because we're expected to. We were always expected to. And even now, women are more expected to mask than boys are because they're like, oh, they're like that. We'll have boys in here. They'll be like, well, I can't help it because I have ADHD. I'm like, who told you that? They're like, my mom. I'm like, okay. And is your mom a doctor? Well, no. Okay, then. Like, it's just so easily dismissed in boys. And in girls, it's second guess. Well, are you sure? Yes. That's why most special needs classes, programs, like after-school programs, community programs are boy-heavy because they are less likely to diagnose and recognize girls with having any kind of disorder or whatever umbrella they want to put it under. Even girls on the spectrum, like autism spectrum, they're one of the last to be diagnosed. Most women aren't diagnosed until their 20s or 30s with autism because no one will give them the actual testing and listen to them.
Yeah.
So girls are just missed across the board for everything. Oh yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm like, I think I went off topic on how I deal with an adult. Oh, so like, because I can relate and because I recognize signs and like I know how I was as a kid, I think that I can relate better and I can catch it. Like, hey, why don't we watch so and so? Because like, yeah, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a doctor, but like, I have the lived experience and I've been working with kids for like 5 years now. But I worked with special needs adults as well before this. So I feel like if I can catch something, I'm like, this really, like, let's pay attention to this person. If we can catch, if we can catch kids early enough, like, great. Then we can start working on tools and stuff rather than like, oh, well, they're just like that, just pass them along. Like, the No Child Left Behind was the worst thing to ever happen.
Really?
Because they just go. We were graduating. You graduated in 2001 born in 2001. When did you graduate high school?
I graduated in 2020.
2020. So in 2020, we were sending eighth graders to high school that couldn't read, that couldn't write their full name.
They made it all this way to 8th grade.
Because No Child Left Behind. They would just get pushed on. And they went to high school not knowing how to read, write properly, spell their entire name. Like, they could spell their nickname, but not like their whole first, middle, last name. Couldn't spell it all. And we sent them on because of No Child Left Behind.
Well, like, even in my readings in this, not this class, with me in my classes, that act is like praised.
It's horrible. And that's why a lot of districts, like, I think we have that option. Like, parents can ask that their kids not just be passed on, and teachers can be like, hey, your child is not anywhere near 3rd grade level, like we suggest they
There is something for that to prevent that from happening.
Well, now, like, you don't have to do the No Child Left Behind.
Yeah.
You can be like, no.
Under parents' discretion, though.
Yeah, the parents have to decide. You can't be like, we're not passing your kid. But I mean, we'll be like, your kid can't read. Do you really want them to go to middle school not reading? So.
To make their life harder.
Right. And I mean, and there's so many programs now, tutoring, summer school, there's after school programs, like, they can get assistance 2 weeks before going on. They don't have to see all their classmates in 5th grade while they're still in 4th grade or whatever. Like, there's other options for them if they think it's an embarrassment thing. Because it used to be.
Yeah.
Like, oh, weren't you supposed to graduate last year? Why are you back? Like, the whole 5th year senior thing, you know, all that. So, yeah, it was awful. That was one of the worst things that happened in education, I think.
Wow. That'll be interesting for them to hear.
Right. Well, because before it was like we're a Title I school, so we have a lot of low income, like a diverse, like poverty scale, whatever.
Mhm.
And it used to be for like those kids that didn't have the opportunities as like the rich schools or the charter schools or whatever. It was to get everyone passed along.
Yeah.
But then it just became, well, we're passing every kid. It doesn't matter if they have
Mhm.
opportunity or not. They're passed. They're passed. And so now it's across the board. It wasn't just, oh, Title I schools, you know, are still not passing kids, right? It's like, no, all schools are, even if they can read or not, grade level not, doesn't matter. All kids are going through,
Wow.
which doesn't help them when they get older.
Yeah.
Like, could you get a job if you couldn't read? Or write your whole name legibly on something? Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. I've never seen it, but hey, to each its own.
It's because you're young. You'll see it eventually. Or maybe you'll see it now that I like that your brain is
Yeah.
like, you're like,
oh my
that
God, work at
happens.
Skip Along too. But of course it's not this. Like they're not old enough. Obviously, it's before they come to school. So.
Right. I mean, but you can even start recognizing it in that age group as well. So things like body language, kids that have so proprioception is like the where their body is. They're the kids that are always tripping on stuff, tripping on their toes. They walk tiptoes a lot, or like with their feet turned out, like on the sole, like the sides of their shoe.
Mhm.
Like not their feet turned out like that, but like, you know, their ankles rolled.
Yeah.
Like they're the ones that like flail a lot, like don't know where their hands are, don't know where their feet are.
Mm.
So that's an indicator of possible, like, you know, like maybe just pay attention to that kid because they could be, those are precursors to like spectrum disorders, ADHD, ADD, which we merge them together. ADD isn't a thing anymore. Now it's just ADHD. Same with like Asperger's isn't a thing anymore. Now it's just spectrum. It's where you are on the spectrum rather than, oh, you have Asperger's, you have this. So that's gone. So now it's just spectrum. But those are all precursors for it. So watch those kids.
Yeah.
And you'll see the ones that don't know where their body is, flail around, like they're the ones that like need work.
Wow. Okay. And what is your exact title here?
I'm a SPED BD para, so I'm a special education para, but I work with our BD, with our behavior disorder students.
And that concludes this